graft quite close to the ground, the higher up it is, the more chance the rootstock will grow, and we don't want the rootstock to grow itself. We just want it to feed the top stock. So if you take them home and you get anything sprouting from below the graft, rub it off, get rid of it. So I'll take the top stock off. So most of this is rubbish, so that's practice material. And I'm going to put a piece of this on the top, which is quite tiny compared to, by comparison. So I'm going to take a bit of this. So I'll cut the end off in case it's dried out a bit. And then you put the cut on the top stock first. So I'm going to put my cut on there, and that's going to feather out to nothing. This is a variety that we found growing in Martley, and the apples are purple on the outside, and they're purple right the way through, these apples. They're about that big. It produces completely purple apples. And even the graftwood itself is purple inside. So that's got to sit on there now, and obviously it's much, much smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally sit it on the side. So I'm going to take just a little skim just to expose the cambium. So this is where, they're not compatible at all. So that'll sit on there quite nicely, cambium to cambium contact. It's exactly the same length, the two cuts. So I'm then going to put like a nick in there about halfway down like so. And then I'll have a look and see where it wants to go. Being careful not to touch them. We mustn't touch these cut surfaces so that they affect them. You have to be careful when it's this small because, oops, counter nick's a bit weedy. I've made a mess of that.
Just a theory doing.
Yeah, do as I say, not do as I do.
So it's just the underlayer, that really thin underlayer of the bark, the very fine line you're trying to connect on both.
Yeah, the cambium layer is what's important. Now, possibly, because this is so small, I should have done it on a shirt collar graft rather than this, but basically I'm looking to sit that on the side like that. Now, as I say, you can get away with it probably not being brilliant on the counter. So you get a bit of tape. Grafting tape's funny stuff. It's a bit like sort of cling film meets electrician's tape. So you kind of you start it off, and the important thing is to get the end. You cover the end, and you just sort of go. And it's quite stretchy, so you'll feel that you can stretch it quite a bit, but if you stretch it too hard, it just breaks. So what that does is that seals over the join quite nicely. And when you come to the end, just pull it off like that and push it with your thumb. It just sticks to itself like cling film. It's strange sort of stuff. Now, as I say, we only want 2 or 3 buds really. So it doesn't matter that the cut end of the rootstock is exposed? Well, no, it won't be in a minute. So we'll take that off there. So there's the rootstock. Top stock on, nice cambium to cambium contact. And then, because wax is just a waste of time on cold days and it takes a load of faff, I use this solvent-free glazer's putty. So you just get a bit of this on your finger and you go on the top of there. And I say the biggest threat to it is it dehydrates before this little piece dehydrates. So without trying not to cover the buds itself, it doesn't matter if you do, it usually pushes through. So on the cut end, like that, they look a right mess. But so that's solvent-free glazer's putty, and I've used that for years. It works really well. That'll dry. So there's your little tree. So you want to. I had these soaking in a bucket for an hour or two before I came out, so they should be quite nice. You take that home and either put it in your vegetable garden or put it in a pot. Bury it up to the same level. If it is outside and the weather turns horrible, you could put a squash bottle or something with the bottom cut out over the top. But then what will happen is that will start to heal now. This is already on the move. Some of them have got, you can see little white rootlets just starting to go. So these are well on the move, these rootstocks. The signwood's been in the fridge, you see, at home. So that was cut a few weeks ago, wrapped in wet newspaper and kept in the fridge. So this has been dormant. So this will now think, oh, nice contrast between 3 degrees in the fridge and whatever it is here. So this will start to wake up. And you'll get the sap flowing between the 2 bits, and behind the tape, it's all nice and sealed up in there, so there's no bacteria, no disease can get in. And hopefully, what should happen, well, it happened 78 times out of 80 that worked last year, so you'll get the sap going from the rootstock, that will start to heal, it'll feed the top stock, and one of these buds, or all of these buds, will break. If they all break, I'll rub the lower ones out, and I'll just encourage the one to go. So that's how you can create like a little fruit tree for about £2. As opposed to going and buying one. You're obviously a year behind a bought one. But So that's your top stock, that's your root stock, that's the variety, but these roots will determine how big a tree it gets. These are all M106, which is a general purpose medium-sized rootstock. And then the other thing you do is you make a label. So I've only got some cardboard labels today, so if you take them home, get yourself something more permanent. But I do get frustrated with indelible markers that aren't indelible. So I bought a set of letter punches. I don't know if you remember school metalwork, you had those punches. I bought a set of those off eBay for about 8 to 10 quid. And then I chop up aluminium beer cans and beat the name into the aluminium beer can and put that on, so it's completely weatherproof. Dog tags, anything like that. There was a project we did, we were involved with over near Evesham, where they got the local school kids to make them in clay, and then a potter fired them, so they had these really nice little medallions with the names on for a community orchard over there. So, but yeah, take them home, look after them, and if they work, brilliant, most people's do. If they don't work, either your knife work was poor and your cambium to cambium contact didn't take, or your top bit dried out before the healing took place. That's the usual failures. So when you're confident your knife work's good enough, get yourself a rootstock and have a go. If you're a bit cautious, you can always start higher up, and if you make a mess of it, move down a bit. So if you start off down here and make a mess of it, you've kind of wasted a rootstock, really.
If it does fail, though, it'd probably only be the side that fails.
Yeah.
So could you have another go
Yeah,
another year?
you could. Last week I did a course over in Staffordshire, and a guy, they'd had someone else teach a course a year or so later, it wasn't me, and he brought back the ones that hadn't worked, and we regrafted them on because he'd kept the rootstock in a pot. So yeah, you can sometimes have another go. You can if you're really good. You could put two. You could put one on either side. You could make a V-shaped one with two different varieties. You could put one bit on one side and a different bit on the other side, and let them both grow away, and you've got two different ones growing on the same tree from the start. But that's how you create tree. So the idea is you can have two each to take home. If you want to do more than two, there are some spares. They're £1.50 each if you want to take more than two, but you can have two included in the price to take away. And hopefully you will.